Nikon D3100 is another camera which we've had for a week, but I've literally just touched. It's one of the latest entry-level DSLRs. But unfortunately, some might not understand what was said in the last review done by Lock C because of his technical language.
And as the D3100 is aimed at the entry-level user, we can break it down in an easy-to-understand plain English.
The D3100 is one of the cheapest DSLRs, but cheap doesn't necessarily equate to cheap, tacky, nasty rubbish from China. Well, not always anyway. You might want to know that it has a 14.2 effective million mobile phone ringing pixels. You might want to know that it's got 14.2 million effective pixels with a 23.1mm by 15.4mm CMOS DXI sensor. Basically that means it's not bad. And basically that means it's got 11 tiny little dots in the viewfinder here, which does auto-focusing cleverness, so you don't need to be. In fact, it's got 2 more dots than the 550D and even the 60D. Oh, and it's got movie mode in 1080p mode with 24 FPS, 720p with 30 FPS, 25 FPS and 24 FPS, and a 424p mode in 24 FPS. So that means that it's got enough movie capabilities to take some lovely videos in HD. X-Speed 2 processor, which is better than the X-Speed 1 processor. Some people say it's a load of marketing nonsense, and some people say it's to do with the way it handles the noise. And I'm not talking about audio noise, it's noise, the little dotty bits on the images. It's got a highest ISO of 12,800, which means that it can take photos in very low light. But does it have lots of this non-audio noise? Then there's, oh, he's got a fish. Oh, wow. I bet if he eats that, he'll get some weird disease. Anyway, it's got active D-lighting. What does that mean? Well, basically, when you look at the scene, the active D-lighting will bring out the details in the dark bits. And if the sky's too bright, it will make it less bright for a less contrasty image.
Let's take a look at a photo to make the explanation easier to understand. Look, here's the original. Bang! The dark bits are less dark now. And now the sky's less bright.
Basically, it means it continuously focuses automatically while you're doing video, so you don't need to. Isn't that just a standard function in all video recording devices? Well, maybe in camcorders, but in cameras like DSLRs and compact cameras, it's still a very new feature, and the D3100 is one of the very first DSLRs to have autofocus continuously in video mode.
Ooh, check out these radical, bodacious dudes on their BMX. Pull off a sick trick for us, will ya?
Yeah, show
The
us what you're made
AFF
of.
works reasonably
Go
well,
on.
and it's got some neat
Yeah, do
tricks
some
like
wicked,
face
wicked,
detection, although it's a little bit slow at times to focus. Also, the autofocusing sound of the lens will be picked up on the audio track, and you can't plug in an external mic. It kind of sounds like a small mouse scratching away at a door. When I first tried out the D3100, I was a little bit disappointed about the video mode, especially with the AFF, which was a little bit mediocre, and the fact that you could hear the autofocusing sound on the audio track. And there's no external mic input. But then I thought again, this camera is meant for the entry-level people, and this is probably a better choice than the 550D because, well, what beginners like to mess about with external mics and manual focusing in video mode anyway? This is meant for the consumer who wants to get into DSLR photography. The AFF is good enough to let the beginner learn the basics of shooting video with DSLR.